A parole board recommends freedom for a member of the Manson family, once sentenced to death for murder. Recreational marijuana sales are coming to San Diego next year. But who grows that marijuana and how does it get to stores? From seed to sell, how San Diego plans to deal with the marijuana supply chain. We can't call it the Q anymore. So what will we be calling the stadium in Mission Valley? KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. Today, a California state board grants Manson family member Leslie Van Houten parole. She was 19 when she killed for Manson in 1969. She was originally sentenced to death for killing Rosemary LaBianca, but her sentence was commuted to life in prison after the state Supreme Court struck down the death penalty. Today was her 21st parole board hearing. Governor Jerry Brown now has 120 days to affirm, reverse, or take no action in the decision. Van Houten was granted parole last year, but Brown reversed that decision. One day after announcing the end of DACA, the Trump administration is facing a legal challenge. DACA stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. It's for young people who are brought to this country illegally as children, temporarily protecting them from deportation. Today, a lawsuit was filed by 15 states and the District of Columbia. They say the decision to phase out the program over 6 months is unconstitutional.
In the complaint we filed today, we lay out the significant economic harm DACA repeal will inflict on New York and states all across America, and we show that the effort to unwind this spectacularly successful program has been driven by the president's personal anti-Mexican, anti-Latino bias.
California is not part of the suit filed today. A spokeswoman for the state attorney general says there will be a separate suit. A quarter of DACA recipients are California residents. San Diego educators are speaking out against the Trump administration's decision to end the DACA program.
What kind of society would take young people who want to work hard and make a contribution to all of us and say we're going to push you into the shadows? Who does that?
We want our students to know that their education matters and will continue to matter, and we will stand by them and protect their rights every single day.
San Diego Unified has sent a letter home to parents reminding them that all children have a constitutional right to education. It also says immigration agencies have agreed to keep off school grounds, and schools will not maintain nor share their students' citizenship information. While schools pledge to protect students, state lawmakers are trying to pass a bill to keep immigration officials out of private workplaces. They rallied in front of the Capitol today. The bill would require agents to have a warrant. The Center for American Progress says more than 3 million California jobs could be lost if there's a mass deportation of those in the country illegally.
Donald Trump was successful at deporting all of our immigrant workers. It would cripple our economy. So that's why it's so important for us to layer some protections to make sure that that doesn't happen, and to hold Donald Trump and his ICE agents accountable to the standards that are established in the U.S. Constitution.
The bill is expected to go up for a vote later this week. The national headquarters of International Rescue Committee says it's found problems with the way San Diego's branch has placed refugees in housing. A KPBS report has prompted their investigation. KPBS reporter Tara Minto has the details.
7 refugee families resettled in San Diego told KPBS they were directed by local IRC staffers to sign leases that did not list every member of their families. That includes Mohammed Abdullah. He says an IRC staffer placed his family of 8 in a 2-bedroom apartment and directed him to sign a lease that lacked 2 of his kids' names. Occupancy guidelines suggest only up to 6 in a space that size.
She told us not to show the IDs because we didn't register your full family. We registered 6 people, not 8.
6 other families told KPBS similar stories. 4 were asked to leave their homes because of too many people. The local office initially denied the claims. But in a statement to KPBS Tuesday, the IRC's national office said, "We unfortunately have identified housing placement practices in San Diego which were inconsistent with the IRC's policies and code of conduct. In response, we have taken steps to reinforce housing-related policies and practices with local staff, and we have engaged with and are supporting families who may have been impacted." At least one family tells KPBS they have not been contacted by the IRC and were turned down when they previously asked for help finding a new home. A second family says the IRC also told them they wouldn't help them search for a new place. That family is now looking in Oregon. KPBS requested a phone interview with IRC's national office, but it has not responded. The local IRC office also has not responded to a request for comment. Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
San Diego County has declared a public health emergency over hepatitis A. There have been more than 400 cases of the disease since November. 15 people have died. The outbreak has hit San Diego's homeless population the hardest. Last week, the city installed hand-washing stations downtown, trying to prevent further spread of the illness. Officials say today's declaration makes it easier for the county to work with city governments to fight the disease. A new report from the San Diego County Suicide Prevention Council says 431 San Diegans died by suicide in 2016. That's up slightly from the previous year, but KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg says the report reveals the county's suicide rate has actually fallen to a 5-year low.
In today's presentation to the community, the council said San Diego is making progress in raising awareness about suicide prevention. For example, in 2016, nearly 2,000 San Diegans received training to recognize the warning signs for suicide and how to help someone who may be at risk. Council member Stan Collins says in order to prevent suicide, we need to talk about it.
There's a lot of people in our community who are experiencing pain and don't feel hope that that pain will go away. And so to identify suicide, to be able to talk about it as something that's preventable, we need to just start with a conversation. And that starts with, are you thinking about suicide, and what can I do to help?
Another resource is the San Diego County Access and Crisis Line. It's staffed round the clock to help people who are feeling in dire straits. Kenny Goldberg, KPBS News.
Preventing veteran suicides is one of many issues California lawmakers are dealing with as this year's session comes to a close. Currently, there are 6 proposed bills to address the problem, including better access to medical care for California vets when they're returning from serving.
Against the 6,000 men and women who've lost their lives in the recent conflicts, that number pales against the over 100,000 veterans who've taken their lives in that same time.
The proposed bill also includes a service to help veterans find new careers. Lawmakers and health advocates gathered at the state capitol this morning to push for a measure that they hope will lead to lower drug prices. It would require health plans to provide more detailed breakdowns of medicine costs and pharmaceutical companies to notify customers of any impending cost hikes.
The behavior of drug companies demands a response from government. This problem can no longer be blamed on a few bad actors. Predatory pricing behavior in the pharmaceutical industry is rampant. It really has become a norm for the industry.
Advocates today delivered 15,000 petitions in support of the bill to lawmakers' offices. A similar bill was introduced last year but never made it to the governor's desk. This time around, the measure has support from the labor industry and consumer health organizations. State lawmakers are considering legislation that would make it easier for a convicted felon to find a job. The Ban the Box bill would make it illegal for an employer to investigate an applicant's criminal history until a conditional offer is made. Assemblymember Kevin McCarthy of Sacramento says this will help convicted felons get back on their feet.
Too many people don't have opportunities for gainful employment, and they get stressed out and depressed because they get kicked out of the get-go. And they frankly end up more and more likely to be in the justice system and a statistic with recidivism. So it helps them as individuals take care of their families. It helps the taxpayers by reducing recidivism.
Opponents argue this bill would hurt small businesses by making them prone to lawsuits. Next week, the San Diego City Council will consider regulations for the so-called marijuana supply chain. That's cultivation, manufacturing, testing, and distribution. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says millions of dollars are at stake.
San Diego has permitted just over a dozen medical marijuana dispensaries. And next year, some of those businesses could begin selling recreational marijuana as well. But where does that marijuana come from, and how does it get from seed to sale?
So we are at Apothecary. It's one of the most popular and successful stores here in San Diego.
Chris Boudreau is showing me around Apothecary, a legal medical marijuana dispensary in Kearny Mesa, sandwiched between an Italian car dealership and a sex shop. Perusing the display shelves, this place sells a lot more than just plain marijuana.
And then there's pre-rolls or joints, more casually known, gummies, honey, and then back over here you have tinctures and kind of more of a traditional medicine, creams, topicals.
Boudreau is chairman of the San Diego Cannabis Industry Association. He also owns a distribution company that connects dispensaries like Apothecary with all the marijuana products sold on the shelves here. He says local dispensaries should be able to stock their shelves with products made here locally, and local authorities should be able to regulate that supply chain.
And if the city is saying, well, we want these stores, but we don't want to permit the ability for any intelligent, regulated, controlled, and carefully managed facilitation of that, then what are they doing? They need to accommodate that. They can't. It's like building half of a building. You need to have the intelligent structure all the way around.
Next Monday, San Diego City Council members will be voting on how or whether to permit cannabis businesses that aren't directly involved with retail sales. The businesses would only be permitted in industrial-zoned areas, separated from homes, schools, and other sensitive land uses. Boudreau says a local marijuana supply chain makes sense.
For us to truck it down from LA, make sure that we get what they want, and then if they didn't pick up something for some reason, take it back. With traffic, it's a little more difficult. It can be. It makes more sense for us to have a permitted facility in San Diego, especially as the industry grows.
To be dependent on distribution facilities that are elsewhere in the state, I think withholds our ability for us to control our own destiny, our own kind of product.
Chris Ward is a city councilman representing downtown, Hillcrest, and North Park. He largely agrees with Boudreau that San Diego needs its own permitted, regulated supply chain.
Trucking in from afar both increases public safety concern that you are transporting long distances, a product that is sensitive, that might be ripe for, ambush or for theft. Being able to keep that closer to, in proximity to the point of sale where additional security measures are a little more fixed is important.
One proposal going before the city council would limit non-retail marijuana businesses to 2 per city council district. Ward says that's probably not enough.
If you did not design a very controlled way that we can have facilities and supply exist here in the city of San Diego, then we're not able to really capture the entirety of the demand and of the market that's out there. If we do that responsibly, we're able to maximize the economic impact for the city, but also have a better handle on the public safety and public health aspects of this issue.
Keywords: economic impact. An all-out ban on the supply chain could make San Diego ineligible for cannabis tax dollars collected by the state. And last year, voters in the city approved Measure N, a local tax on marijuana businesses, including cultivators, manufacturers, and distributors. That's potentially millions of dollars coming into the general fund. In a city struggling to pay for everything from infrastructure to police salaries, money could be the biggest incentive to let the local legal cannabis industry prosper. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
There's a new program that will give some public employees a chance to keep more money in their pockets. Today, SDG&E announced an instant rebate program for K-12 teachers and first responders interested in reducing their carbon footprint. The Champion for Clean Air program will offer a $1,000 discount on the purchase or lease of an electric vehicle.
We plan to donate $500,000 to fund the program over the next 3 years, and our plan is to provide a total of 500 electric vehicle rebates for teachers and first responders. Now, this program is just a small way to show our appreciation for our teachers, our police officers, our firefighters, our sheriff deputies, our lifeguards, and emergency medical technicians who literally save lives and inspire our children every day.
Program supporters say the SDG&E discount combined with the state rebate and federal tax credit can knock down the cost of buying a new EV by roughly $20,000. There will be a detour for drivers traveling east on State Route 52 this weekend. A central portion of the highway running from La Jolla to Santee will be closed. This as repairs are underway. All lanes will be closed Friday night at 8 and will open back up Monday morning at 5. Drivers are asked to look out for workers who will direct them to other freeways. If you've driven by Qualcomm Stadium lately, you may have noticed something. All the major signs bearing its name have been taken down. That's because Qualcomm ended its 20-year naming lease. Now the Q is being called San Diego Stadium. But it won't stay that way for long. KPBS's Matt Hoffman has more.
If you went to last weekend's SDSU football game, you probably noticed something different. All the major Qualcomm signs have been taken down, including the one right behind me. That's because this stadium is getting a new name.
Small companies, mid-sized companies, national companies, all were welcome to submit a bid.
The city is working with San Diego State Sports Properties to close the deal. But this isn't a normal stadium naming rights opportunity. This contract would be for just 16 months.
A normal naming rights partnership program could range from $1 to $2 to $3 million per year, depending upon the length of the term. This is 16 months. It's very short. And with that, I think we were going to be optimistic to get to 500,000 or north of that number. Anything north of 250 to 300,000 would be a nice chunk of change for the city.
Bidding on the property opened in August and closed just last week.
We met with the city yesterday to review the options that came our way, and we've got a couple that we are doing some more due diligence on.
Little understands the legacy of Qualcomm Stadium. It's hosted some big events over the last 20 years, including the Super Bowl in 2003.
There are iconic names that kind of stick with people. Probably a certain generation still refers to it as the Murph. You know, many of the younger generation who grew up over the last 18 years knowing it as the Q will probably always call it the Q.
The Murph, the Q, whatever it's going to be called next, the new name will need final approval from the San Diego City Council. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
The strongest storm ever recorded in the Atlantic has proven deadly. Authorities say Hurricane Irma is responsible for at least 2 deaths in the northern Caribbean islands. Now people in Puerto Rico are dealing with the lashes of the Category 5 storm. This is video taken earlier today from St. Martin and the U.S. Virgin Islands. You can see the intense rain barreling down. Irma could hit Florida by early Sunday. President Trump has already declared an emergency there. Officials say Irma could be bigger, faster, and stronger than Hurricane Andrew, which wiped out entire neighborhoods 25 years ago. People are trying to get out of Irma's path. In the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey, we're learning more about the devastating impact. Authorities now say 70 people died as a result of the storm. Texas Governor Greg Abbott estimates it may cost $180 billion to recover from the Category 4 storm. Congress has just approved nearly $8 billion to begin efforts. Cloudy skies and sunshine for San Diego this week. Erin Calandra has more in tonight's forecast.
Well, take a look at the last couple of hours on the radar. All this green, even some reds and yellows. Well, that indicates some showers, even some downpours in places. They're going to continue mainly through the deserts and mountains for the next couple of days, of course. Maybe could be a little bit more intense toward the end of the week. So we could see some downpours in places. That's pretty much how it looks here across the Southwest, Vegas, all the way up into Los Angeles, seeing some scattered activity. For tonight, the temperature 69 degrees degrees for our low. Increasing clouds, of course, they'll be there when you wake up in the morning, but then disappearing by lunchtime. Plenty of sunshine. Tonight, the low, in Oceanside is 64, Poway 66, San Diego 69, and Borrego Springs 78 degrees, Mount Laguna 60 degrees. Here we are on Thursday. Spotty activity in the Four Corners, of course, monsoon season, and some spotty activity here. And then, of course, those morning clouds right along the coast. They'll be going away for plenty of sunshine. So Oceanside, a high of 80 degrees. That is much closer to our average temperature. So we are a lot closer to where we should be. San Diego 79, Poway 87 degrees. And then in Ramona, 90 degrees, Alpine 88 degrees for our high temperature. It's going to be beautiful with plenty of sunshine really for everyone. Here we are along the coast this weekend. It's going to be nice for the beach, partly cloudy in the morning and then sunshine, temperatures in the upper 70s. Inland, it's going to be warmer in the 80s, low 90s by Sunday. So it's going to be very comfortable, not very humid and just pleasant. In the mountains, look at these temperatures. We're in the 70s during the day, 50s at night. Perfect condition to pop open the windows and get some fresh air while you're sleeping. And finally, the deserts, we are seeing temperatures in the 90s, a nice break of those triple digits. So on Saturday, that's going to be the coolest day of the week with a high of only 94 degrees. So still dangerously hot, but a nice break from what we've seen here lately. For KPBS News, I'm Erin Calandra.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next News Hour, a look at how Pittsburgh is using new smart technology to reduce traffic congestion. That's Wednesday on the PBS News Hour.
Earlier on this newscast, we told you about the legal challenges to President Trump's plan to end DACA. While the lawsuits play out, an estimated 800,000 people are left waiting and worrying. NPR gives us a glimpse of those worries through the eyes of 5 DACA recipients.
What does it feel like to be a dreamer today?
Today, I was just kind of having a bit of a mental breakdown at work, trying to focus and just stay on top of my usual job. It was not a good day. I actually left early because I'd heard the news and I just couldn't take it too much.
For me, to have DACA today feels very uncertain, but I've always known that DACA is not a permanent solution for my situation in this country.
The ability to have DACA obviously has opened many doors for us. Many small things that some people take for granted, which is the ability to have a driver's license, the ability to go hang out with your friends or to go out to dinner without having to get worried about getting pulled over by a cop, being arrested and then deported.
Well, my whole life, I went to school, high school, everything. I didn't realize that I didn't have papers. I didn't, that I was not part of this country until it was time to apply for college. I realized you cannot receive financial aid.
It was life-changing. It gave me the independence that I now have to support my family.
It feels like safety. Something just to make sure that I'm not taken away and that I'm here.
When I first got DACA, I was very excited.
It affected me. It was one of the happiest days of my life.
I wake up to about 30 text messages, maybe 100 emails.
My mom called me and she was crying, I think, and she told me that there was a way for me to be like normal like everyone else. And I knew immediately what she was talking about when she said be normal like everyone else.
I have lived here since I was 6 years old. Yes, so my whole life.
I've lived here in Houston for 18 years.
Since I was 10 years old.
I've lived here since I was 7, so about 17 years.
I do not have any memories of El Salvador, which is where I'm from, and this is the only place I know as home.
Oh, well, I'm getting married in December. Hopefully that still happens. Maybe 2, 3 kids. She was 2, but I went 3, so we'll see. And just, having the luxury to travel and still educating kids because I'm a teacher. So that's a big part of what I still want to do in my future.
It's a very sad day for us today, but I feel more strengthened than before to continue my education. I will actually receive my bachelor's degree in healthcare administration in December.
To be honest, I'm a little panicked right now. I actually recently got married and there's no way right now for me to fix my situation other than DACA was my fix for my problems at the time, and now I have nothing to fall back on. and I bought a house, and I'm trying to pay it off, and I'm like, is it even worth to pay off my house at this point? And like, is my credit score even of value anymore to me? You know what I'm saying? It's like a lot of things that I've worked so hard to acquire, and at this point, I'm like, it wasn't even worth it. Should I be getting ready to be deported, or you know, just I'm not even sure how to get ready for these things, to be honest.
You know, today I'm not letting my spirits go down. I am not.
They have taken everything from us today, but we're strong people and we will always move forward.
I'm ready to fight for my dreams, for my life. So I feel propelled, and this is the fuel that I needed.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening.